Hi friends, welcome back to Natural Living with Zanana. And this week we're in my kitchen again. We're actually going to be spending a few weeks in the kitchen because it's such an important place for our health. We spend so much time eating healthy, cooking healthy, and last week we talked about organic produce and why it's important to eat organic. We talked about the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. If you haven't seen that video, then definitely check it out because it's really important information for your health and gives you lots of tips on shopping for organic produce, what to buy and what not to buy, and where you can save your money and stick to your budget. So this week we're continuing on with health in the kitchen. Because not only is food important, but also what we cook with and what we cook on. So today we're going to be exploring that and exploring the choices that we all have with our cookware. And we're going to start this with non-stick because, believe it or not, non-stick is still quite unhealthy, even though Teflon or PFOA and PTFE were banned not too long ago, and a lot of cookware likes to tout themselves as being safe because it has no PFOA or PTFE in it. It's still quite hazardous to your health and quite toxic. So we're going to talk about that today. And I just wanted to point out that there's a great movie out. It's called Dark Waters, and it explores the whole Teflon DuPont situation, issue, catastrophe. I mean, it's pretty eye-opening, folks. So if you haven't seen that movie, I will put a link down into the description and check it out because my husband and I were both like blown away by what happened in that movie and in that town. If you've seen the movie, let us know what you thought about it. Share in the comments below because I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'm sure everyone else in our community would as well. So definitely let us know. And so we're going to start by talking about non-stick, and then after we talk about that, I'm going to actually take you into my drawers and cupboards, and we're going to look at the cookware that I have and that I've been using, what is safe and what's not safe. And by the end of this video, you will have several options for good, safe cookware that performs well, that is healthy and non-toxic for you and your family. So stick with me to the end of the video so that you can get that very, very important information. But first, we're going to talk about non-stick. Non-stick is a big category, clearly, and we first heard about non-stick with Teflon. Teflon is not an ingredient, it's a brand name, and it was created by DuPont. And it's basically a set of chemicals known as perfluorinated chemicals. And perfluorinated chemicals are PFCs, and some of those PFCs are PFOA and PTFE. So those are ingredients that are in the non-stick coating. And the thing about non-stick is that it is oil resistant and water resistant, and it's actually super, super durable. So that's why it became so popular, because it really does make a great surface for cooking. But the problem is that it can leach toxic chemicals into the air and into our food when we're cooking, and that's where it can be very, very harmful to us. So, non-stick cookware is made up of perfluorinated chemicals, and the most popular and most well-known perfluorinated chemicals is perfluorooctanoic acid. Say that 10 times fast, that's a hard one. And it's known as PFOA, so that's what we see on the packages PFOA free when you're looking for cookware, because most is free of that chemical these days. But that is only one chemical in that group of perfluorinated chemicals, and we'll talk more about that later. But the thing about these perfluorinated chemicals is that they are very non-destructible, and they repel oil, they repel water, which is what made them so popular in the first place. They make a great coating, a great non-stick. But the problem with them being so indestructible is that they are indestructible in also our bodies and in the environment. The studies have shown that the half-life of these perfluorinated chemicals is actually 3 to 8 years. And half-life actually means that the substance that's in your body will be reduced by half within that period of time. So in 3 to 8 years, which is a long period of time as it is, you will still have half of the amount of the chemical in your body. And that is if you don't ingest more. But if we're getting more through our cookware or through the environment, then our levels are not necessarily going to go down. And also, they have actually found it in polar bears out there in the wild. So this stuff is in our environment, and it's also in our cookware, and it's not safe for us. So like we said, in 2005 and 2006, some of these perfluorinated chemicals were actually phased out, the PFOA and the PTFE, because they started to recognize that they did cause cancer, or they had the propensity to cause cancer. They basically started phasing them out at that point in time. So that's why you see a lot of the nonstick cookware saying PFOA and PTFE free. But that is just one class of these perfluorinated chemicals. And actually, the new stuff is also made with some type of perfluorinated chemical. They're calling them Gen X chemicals, or C6 instead of C8, which was the original perfluorinated chemical, the PFOA. So the bottom line is that these chemicals are not safe, no matter what type of perfluorinated chemical it is. And we really need to steer clear of all of them, because they haven't done tests on these to find out whether or not they react the exact same way. And chances are they actually do and will. And also, when these perfluorinated chemicals break down, they really could turn into PFOA and PTFE as well. And the other thing is that these companies do not have to reveal what is in their nonstick cookware. They do not have to reveal the ingredients, the makeup of the nonstick cookware. So we really, in truth, have no idea what it is made up of. And the CDC says that 98% of people have PFOAs in their body. So we're walking around with these chemicals inside of us. 98%, guys. That's basically everyone. So it's so important to make the transition away from non-stick cookware. Studies have linked PFC exposure to the following diseases and disorders: hyperactivity, asthma in children, reproductive toxicity, infertility in men and women, hormone disruption, specifically of the thyroid. And the US EPA has declared PFOA likely to be carcinogenic in humans. Studies have linked it to kidney and testicular cancer. There was also a 2012 study that showed that children with the highest exposure to PFOA actually had thyroid disease, hypothyroidism. So this is really, really important to pay attention to. I'm going to put this information down in the description so that if you are interested in looking into it further, you will have all the facts about the exposure to PFOA, perfluorinated chemicals, and why it is important for us to steer clear of them. but I think it's clear that it's something that we need to remove from our environment, our households, our kitchen as soon as possible. So, like I said, even though PFOA and PTFE have been banned, all the companies are still creating some sort of non-stick surface. It just happens to be made with different perfluorinated chemicals, which likely have the same effect, if not worse, than the previous chemicals that they were using. So bottom line is, again, we just need to steer clear of the perfluorinated chemicals and non-stick cookware, because studies show that it really only takes about 5 minutes of preheating, and at regular temperatures, the gases from the non-stick cookware can be emitted into the environment, and then we're breathing in those fumes. And when we breathe in those fumes, they go directly into our system. It's not like when we eat them with food where we're digesting it and it can be handled by the liver. When it's going into our lungs, it's actually going directly into our system. And that's dangerous, guys, which is why it can be so toxic to humans. Birds actually die when there's too much of these chemicals in the air. And that just tells us exactly how toxic it is for us, for our animals, for our environment. And I'll put some links to the information about that down in the description below as well. If any of you have birds and know about this, then please share information about that in the comments section as well. Some companies will actually market themselves as green and say that they have PFOA free and PTFE free cookware, but again, we cannot go by that. We cannot believe that unless they're listing the exact ingredients and the exact method that they're using to create the non-stick for this cookware. The only exception to that is the green pan, which I actually purchased one of those quite a while ago. I don't have it anymore. They do actually explain how they're creating their non-stick, and it is perfectly safe. So if you do have the green pan, then that one you can go ahead and use. The only problem with the green pan is that it doesn't last very long. So then you're buying something that's maybe going to last you 3 or 4 years. At least that's what people say in the reviews, and I can attest to that. Mine didn't last very long either. So then you're just creating more garbage, because then you have to throw out this pan. Whereas some of the alternatives can actually last you a lifetime and even be handed down to the next generation. So now let's go ahead and get into the cupboards, get into the drawers, and take a look at my cookware. And I'll show you what I discovered when I started looking more deeply in my kitchen. And I hope that you will do the same in your kitchen as well, because I'm telling you guys, it's definitely a great place to get started with improving our health and reducing toxicity in our bodies. All right, here we go. Okay guys, so here we are in the kitchen, and this is my pot and pan drawer here. And so when I open this up, I look and see several different types of pots and pans. And this is a very old non-stick. Definitely has to go. I don't know here, I'm gonna move it over into the light a little more on my stove, and you can see how that is totally scratched up at the bottom. Guys, I think I've had this since my wedding, and Chris and I were married in 2006, so I've had this for so many years. It's definitely scratched up. This is exactly what we do not want to be using. To tell you the truth, I haven't used it in a while, so it's definitely well past time to get rid of it. But I'm sure I'm not the only one that has this type of thing in my kitchen. And why are we keeping these around? Because this is exactly what happens. They start to break down, the non-stick, and then we're ingesting it while we're cooking. So definitely needs to go. So that is that. And then if we look a little more deeply, another pot and pan set that it's actually just a pan set that I bought recently is this Hex Clad set. Here is another piece to it here. So I've got 4 pieces of Hex Clad. I believe I bought it at Costco after I had a demo of the Hex Clad, and they said it's stainless steel and this new technology that uses the stainless steel. And I watched the demo and I thought this was all just stainless steel. But when I looked a little bit more closely on their website, I found out that the stuff in between the hexagon shaped stainless steel is actually non-stick. So I thought it was great cookware. I went ahead and bought it. I used it for several years. I really loved it, but then I found out it was non-stick. And I will put the links to the Hex Clad website down in the description so that you can see for yourself what they have described their cookware to contain. They actually said that it does have PTFE in the non-stick. So what a bummer, guys. You do really have to pay attention and make sure that you know what you're buying. So now let's talk a little bit about safe cookware. And here you will see that I do have a really nice set of Emerald cookware. I've had this for quite a few years. It's well loved and well used, and super safe stainless steel cookware. Stainless steel is fantastic. It's an alloy. It leaches maybe a little bit of chromium and nickel, but that is not hazardous to our health at all. And it's really, really safe, very durable. It's very lightweight, which is a fantastic thing about it. And clearly you can see that I've had this for a while. It still looks pretty decent. It's worn, but it's fantastic. So great, great cookware for sure. Now let's go into the next drawer down. I'm gonna put that lid back, and we're gonna open the next drawer, and I'm gonna show you what I've got down here. So I have a few things. I've got a Le Creuset piece here. It's a Dutch oven. It's fantastic. This is enamel coated cast iron. Enamel coated cast iron is also perfectly safe. There is nothing wrong with that at all. So it's a great alternative. I love Le Creuset. It is a little bit on the expensive side. I do also have a Marquette Castings Dutch oven here, which I absolutely love as well. And I think they're a little more reasonable than the Le Creuset. So those are very good options. The other thing that I have is this new Extrema Cookware, which is ceramic, and it's a super safe ceramic. I'll give you a link to that on the description as well. I bought a few pieces. I used that one. Some of the others are brand new. I need to use them more, but they are really quite fantastic. And we'll talk more about those in another episode, but I just wanted to let you know that it is a very, very good option indeed. So I definitely recommend that too. So now below the Extrema, I have this very nice cast iron piece. This is Staub, and I love this for sure. I have had it for quite a few years. I would say maybe even like 10 years now. And this is cast iron. Staub does say that they put an enamel coating over the cast iron. And so it is very durable. It's very safe. It is fantastic. I'm actually going to do an episode next week about cast iron. As you can see, I have 3 cast iron pans, and they are fantastic. So next week, definitely tune in because we're going to be talking about Artisanal, which is this brand. It's Bed Bath & Beyond. It's a budget brand, and I have this cast iron skillet. It's the 12-inch, and so next week I'll be talking about that versus Staub, so which is a higher end line. So come back and we'll talk in more detail about those two, and we'll get into more detail about cast iron. But for now, I'm just going to take you over and we can summarize what we learned here today. So there's one more type of cookware that we didn't talk about when we opened up the cupboards, and that is glass. So glass is a fantastic option as well. It's perfectly safe, and I have lots of Pyrex that I have used over the years. They wear nicely, they're great cookware, so glass is another really, really good option. So in summary, those are some of the 5 best alternatives to non-stick cookware: cast iron, enameled cast iron, stainless steel, ceramic, and glass. So let's get rid of the non-stick, guys. Throw it out. That's what I'm gonna do, and I'm hoping that you will do the same, because it is the safest for all of us and the safest for our environment and our children. So come back next week. We'll be talking in more detail about cast iron, and then we'll also have an episode about baking after that and making sure that your bakeware is safe. All right, I'll look forward to seeing you then. All right, take care, friends. I wish you the very best of health.